Hi guys, so recently I was sent out the 720p I.C.U action camera from the guys over at Plan Beta. Very small, compact little unit. I did come in some really nice packaging and stuff, but I have actually unpacked it and to have a good look around the camera. As you can see, very small, a little bit like a flashlight from Surefire or something like that, you know, fashioned in that sort of style. Very small camera, nice little pinhole lens on the front so you can avoid any damage being done to that when BBs get fired to it. A very nice thing about this is the cap comes off like so, and then you can see that lens just sat in there, you know, back inside the unit. So even if this took a direct hit from a BB, that hole is not small enough for that to pass through into the unit and do any damage to the lens. You might end up with a cracked cap, but I'm pretty sure that you could replace them. Now this slides straight onto a Picatinny or Weaver rail, which is another really nice feature of this. If you look at GoPros or the Mobius cameras that are very popular, you have to go and buy a third-party device to be able to clamp them onto the weapon, whereas this will slide straight onto a rail, whether it be, you know, left, right, bottom, top mounted, it doesn't really matter. And the whole camera can actually be controlled by this little push button switch on this wire, on this bungee wire, and you could just attach that further down the weapon. Now I'm going to show you an example of just placing this onto my pistol. So here I've got my KWC M&P 40 with silencer on the front, and you can see you've just got that Picatinny rail on the front. Now this does just slide onto that rail and sort of snap into place. There is no fixtures for securing this at the top to kind of pinch it together, so there is a little bit of wobble in there. It is a little bit of a shame that there is no way of tightening that up, but it doesn't actually fall off the weapon. There might just be a little bit of wobble in there if you was running around. Now this it actually gives you plenty of movement. Now what I would probably do is sellotape this into place on the right hand side. Everything works from that button, so if I just hold that button in like so, hopefully you'll see that green light come on in a second. So I think you have to hold it down for like 5 seconds, and there you go. You can just see that green light at the top. Now if I switch that down, I'm just not going to do any video, I'm just going to do some photos and just press that in once. Hopefully you can see that flashing away, that little green light there. There you go. And that's taking still imagery, and you can do the same with recording and stopping the recording just by pressing the button in. Now I will put some footage up of this. I'm not going to do any gameplay footage or anything like that with it. I'm just going to shoot through some targets in the garden to show you the quality of the footage. So guys, I've got the I.C.U camera set up on the pistol. We'll jump over to the footage from this in a second. I've just set some targets up behind me just to see if you can see the BB in flight. So guys, I've swapped the camera now over onto my TM. This is a 4160 DevGru. As you can see, haven't been able to get it on properly. It doesn't fit and slide down the rail. Have got some footage from this now though, just filming at the camera. Just going to see if this picks up the BBs flying at a different speed. So guys, I just want to give you my final conclusion on the I.C.U camera from Plan Beta. There's a few pros, but there's more cons than there are pros. Now, I don't like shedding negative light on anything. I really don't like driving something into the ground just for the sake of it. I would rather give back constructive criticism on a product. Now, the good things about this, one is the shape, two is the rail mounting. The shape's really nice, it's discreet, it's not like running around with a GoPro hanging off of your gun. If you want to see some GoPro footage that I took on top of my GMP, you can have a look in the description below, and I'll put my range footage in there, and you can kind of compare the quality of the footage that comes from the GoPro in comparison to this. Now the shape is the best thing about it. It's nice and discreet, it's small, you know, it's nice and lightweight, it's not going to be something big and bulky hanging off the gun. The second really cool thing about this is the Picatinny or Weaver rail mounting. The bad side about it is the fact that it's not adjustable. You haven't got a clamp type system on there for you to be able to lock it onto your weapon. So in the two cases where I've used it, putting it on my pistol, which was a KWC M&P 40, it rattled around from left to right. It didn't fit on there snugly enough, and in the footage you can actually see that wobble. It's actually being picked up by the camera as it's kind of vibrating as the gun's firing. It means that the footage is really not watchable for long periods of time. It's okay to watch it for 30 seconds, but watching it for more than that is going to probably give you a headache. The second side of that is this didn't fit on my TM. I managed to wedge it on the end of the gun, as you saw in the footage, but it didn't fit properly, and it wasn't secure enough that if I was to go and play a game I would be able to do it. So that's a real shame. If you could make this top weaver Picatinny mount adjustable, or make it clampable onto a weapon, you're going to have much more success with this being able to fit a lot more variety of guns. The second thing about this, and I think the thing I found most difficult, was using this button here to control the camera. It's on this weird sort of bungee, which on a pistol doesn't really work. The pistol is so short that all this ends up bunched up in the way, and you've got this on the front of your pistol, and about here is where your finger's going to be to interact with the button. The next thing, interacting with that button, is very difficult. So I'm going to turn the camera on. I'm going to hold it down. I'm saying I'm doing this on the bottoms of the weapon so I can't see. I've held it down for about 3 seconds. Okay, so I've managed to turn the camera on. Now I've got a red flashing light. What I want to do is start the camera recording. It's turned itself off. I've used this for about 5 minutes worth of footage, which is what I filmed in the garden, and I presume that's a low battery. Anyway, it's not stayed on. Now it's on green. I want to start recording, and I've pushed the button, and now I've got a red flashing light and it's turned itself off. So I have no idea what this camera is doing at the moment. We'll have to have a look in the manual to try and get recording, but I was hoping for more than maybe 10 minutes worth of battery life, which is what I've got out of it on a full charge. It's a real shame. The fact that you can put your own SD card in the back is cool. It means that the memory is adjustable, but trying to control it with this is just impossible without looking at the bottom of this. You have to constantly turn your weapon over to find out what the camera's doing, and even by those lights you really don't have any idea unless you've got the manual on you or you know the camera off by heart as to what's happening. I found trying to get this into a record mode very, very difficult, and I had to constantly turn the weapon over to make sure that it was recording. So personally, I think you could probably do away with this switch, chop it off, make a much more small compact unit, put 3 buttons on the side. One turns the unit on, one is a switch that chooses between video and camera, a bit like what we have on the bottom here, and finally you just have a record start and a record stop. You switch it on, you pick a mode, and then when it's on the front of your gun, you just tap it to start recording and tap it to stop. That's going to give you a much better interaction. You're not going to have to worry about fixing this to your gun, because again, on my railed weapon, this is probably going to be elastic band or cable tied or something like that. It'd be much easier for me to just tap a button on the side of this. So that would be my feedback. Make the top adjustable, get rid of this button. It makes it too difficult to control. The last thing, I don't want to keep bashing on this, but the last thing that I do want to bring up is this is supposed to be 720p and 60 frames a second. If you look at the footage, you cannot see the BB travelling through the air, and this is with a very slow FPS gun. My pistol's at about 230, 250 FPS with a .2. I had .4s in for today's shoot, just so that you could see them flying through the air, so that they were moving slower, so hopefully they would be picked up by more frames, and that hasn't happened. Also, my TM is like 290 FPS on .2s. It's got 2.5s in there, so that should be pretty slow as well. It's not like we've got a 400 FPS gun with .2s in it that are travelling ridiculously fast, and this still didn't pick it up. But if you go back and watch my GoPro footage at 720p at 60 frames, you'll see that it picks up nearly every single BB. You can even see the BBs shattering when they hit the target and fall into the floor. So I'm a little bit confused as to how this is rendering its footage. I don't know if it's the right speed to the card, I don't know if it's the lens, I'm not quite sure, but the footage definitely isn't on par with other 720p 60 frames per second devices. So I don't want to bash on this completely. I definitely think there's some stuff to be done. This is a V2, let's hope that the V3 has some more improvements. It does seem like a very tough, robust little unit. That's cool. The shape again is cool. The adjustment at the top could be awesome. But for me at the moment it doesn't quite work. This is not something that I could potentially rely on. The fact that it's now turning itself off, I really don't know what it's doing. That doesn't indicate anything to me. I don't know if there's a problem with the card. I don't know whether it's a problem with the battery or what. It's just turning itself off. So a little bit of a shame. I don't want to run this into the ground. Let's fingers crossed that they improve this for the next version. If you do have any questions about this, if you want to give me any feedback, if you know why it's turning itself off, please drop a comment in the box below. If you do want to go and pick one of these up or check them out, you can do that over at redwolf.co.uk. They are available on there for £75. If you want my honest advice, there is other things out there for that price that you could probably pick up that will do a better quality job for you. If you're still after this and you want it, then you can head over there to pick it up. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all soon.